into the chat, and I'm so sorry for the delay. Oh my gosh. All right, well, we've got some people here, so I'm just going to get started. And let me take that off the screen. So good evening and welcome back to my channel. My name is Swamp Rose. Let me just adjust this. My name is Swamp Rose, or you can call me Kiki. And tonight we have a special program. We're actually going to be debunking some mainstream media myths regarding the IDAHO4 case, or the case against Bryan Kohberger. And I have a pretty long list, but tonight we're doing probably about 10 to 12. And I have visuals for all of these, and I have different talking points. Before I get started, I just want to thank my managing mods who helped me put this list together. And I just want to say Heather and Too Fast did a really good job. So thank you to both of you. I've seen you in the chat, and let's get started. Hold on a second. I just need to turn on the lights. So I was originally planning on doing this live stream with Robert, but he had a family emergency, so it's just going to be me tonight. And 12 Gauge, you're welcome to come up. I shared the link with you earlier. So the first myth that I wanted to talk about, and I've got a banner for it right here, came up in our last live stream. So this is kind of what sparked the idea for this, I believe, or got us going on the list. But one of the things we talked about in our last live stream was a claim that Bryan Kohberger ate at the Mad Greek restaurant. So there's two parts to this myth that we're going to debunk. One, that he even ate there or ever was there. I have a quote from the owner, a direct quote. But another thing is that this wasn't actually a vegan restaurant, because it wasn't. It had one vegan dish there. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. And there's pretty strong language that debunks this. So I'm just going to let the quotes from the owner of the restaurant speak for themselves. And let me just take myself off the screen. And hello to the chat. I'm glad you guys are back. Sorry that took so long for me to get here. Oh, good. Heather's here. I hope Too Fast comes back. Okay, so if you want to go look up this article for yourself, and what I'm going to do is try and link everything we talk about tonight in the chat below, because it's not just for me. I have great resources. I'm lucky to have people surrounding me that help me check my facts. So I want to provide these for you if you have a channel as well that you can link on below, and just if you need to debunk these or steer people to the right direction. So the title of this article is Owner of Restaurant Where Bryan Kohberger Reportedly Ate Speaks Out. And I'm not going to read through the whole article because it essentially just rehashes the fabricated story. But initially the story was sourced by People magazine. So it was actually sourced by a mainstream media. So we'll start here. In a post on the, what the heck? In a post on the restaurant's Facebook page late on Friday night, Fisher said staff had not been afforded the time to grieve, and that this would be the only response to the People story, meaning People magazine. The post read, "This person who wants their 5 minutes of fame is now accusing a whole bunch of extra work, is now causing a whole bunch of extra work for myself and the investigators. I also have not forbid employees to speak to reporters." So that debunks another myth, because we were told he told them not to. "We all decided collectively to support the families and not to share anything that could potentially harm the investigation or cause families more stress." Fisher added reports Fisher added reports an internet sleuth had tried to contact staff on numerous occasions, and the journalists had been hunting down employees. The statement continued, "Please stop calling, messaging, knocking, and showing up. I personally will not be doing any interviews or entertaining wild accusations at this time. My employees also feel the same. To all the others, please don't believe anything you read. If it's not coming from the courts or the police, wait until it does or it doesn't before judging. To everyone who has supported myself, my family, my employees, thank you. Your kind words and support help us get through each day while we navigate these unknown times." And I probably should have put the banner up. So this is what we're debunking. So I just think this is really interesting. And now that you kind of have an idea of what I'm trying to do here and these simple stories that we're trying to debunk, what I would like to say to the chat is, if you have other stories that you can think of or other little stories that you've debunked you want to put in the chat, please do. And we'll write all those down and we'll include them in another segment, because this is something I'm going to keep doing. I'm either going to do whole shows on it or I'll devote a segment to it in my live streams. But I wanted to start by telling you that. And the next myth I'm going to debunk is that they found ID cards in Bryan Kohberger's possession. And actually, when I bring up the article, I think you might actually be a little bit surprised. There's so many false statements in this mainstream media news article that we're going to review. It's by the Daily Mail, and I was actually disappointed. I thought they'd do a better job, but this story is connecting the licenses of a smoking pow pow, sorry. And a lot of these quotes come from Jennifer Coffendorfer, who is also a YouTube creator on here. Wait, hang on, I'm reading the comment. Okay, can you please debunk BK touched the house Wi-Fi? That's a great one. I'll start right now. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read you this article, and for the people who are here because they want to hear the debunkings, it's probably going to raise your temperature a little bit. So here we go. This article is dated April 8th of 2023, and that's kind of interesting. I just made a video about that time frame, and actually that's when they were issuing the subpoenas. The defense was for Bethany to come back from Nevada. Anyway, I digress. Let me read you this article, which I will link below, and it is called "A Smoking License, ID Connected to Idaho Murder Victims Found in Bryan Kohberger's Car During the Search 6 Weeks After the Quadruple Killings." An ID connected to the murdered University of Idaho students was uncovered in suspect killer Bryan Kohberger's car amid reports that he had been cyber-stalking one of the victims. Kohberger, 28, was accused of slaying Madison Mogan, 21, Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, Ethan Chapin, 20, and Xander Kernodle, 20, in their off-campus home back in February. His connection to the students has remained unclear, but an unsealed search warrant states the officers found ID cards in his car 6 weeks after the killings. And we'll just skip the soundbite there. Sources now have told News Nation that they belong to somebody who lived in the Moscow residence, but a gag order on the trial has stopped police from confirming details on the ID cards. Did you guys hear? I'm not going to drop names or say much, but there was a larger YouTuber who was live streaming a couple days ago, and she directly named names of somebody who I'll just stop there. Just wondering, my question is, if there's feeding stories, who's feeding the stories to people? I guess that's my question. Anyway, let me keep going. So I left off here. So sources have now told News Nation they belong to somebody who lived in the Moscow residence, but the gag order on this trial has stopped the police from confirming the details about the cards. It comes after experts revealed that Kohberger's car was set to become a key piece of evidence and a rolling crime scene in trial. And this is the TikToker they quote in this video. Kohberger was linked to the grisly murders by DNA on a knife sheath found in the home. I'm sorry, I need to take off these glasses because I can't see with them on. Kohberger was linked to the grisly murders by DNA on a knife sheath found at the home and the cell phone tower data, which also put him near the scene of the crime. Retired FBI agent Jennifer Koffendorfer said the discovery was a big deal. That is a smoking license, she said during an appearance on Como on Thursday. Just like the sheath was a smoking sheath found next to Maddie with his DNA on that clasp, it's the same thing in this situation. Why would he have an ID related to one of these people from that house? Attorney Mark Garagos also said that the evidence would be a hurdle for the defense if presented in court. Meanwhile, DailyMail.com reported Caitlin Becker said it appeared based on the search warrant that the IDs had been hidden in Kohberger's parents' home. In a TikTok video, she explained, "When these warrants were unsealed last month, I looked through them. I saw ID cards taken, but without any other information, they didn't stand out to me. But now with a source saying that the IDs belong to someone connected to the murders, I went back and I looked at specifics of the search warrant, and what I found was crazy." She went on to explain that the warrant states that the cards were found inside a glove, inside a box. It suggests the Kohberger had deliberately hidden the IDs inside a glove and then placed them inside a box. She added, "My other questions are, whose ID was it? When did it go missing? If it was before the murders, could this bolster the state's theory of stalking? And if it was after the murders, are we looking at a potential trophy?" Wow. Kohberger was a doctoral student in criminal justice at Washington State University, 50 miles from Moscow. Police found a trove of disturbing items, including a gun, several knives, and a black face mask at his home following the dramatic arrest. Investigators remained tight-lipped over the potential motive of the slayings, but revealed in an affidavit that he had visited the area of the home in Moscow several times. And last week, it was revealed the police have submitted several search warrants to social media companies, including TikTok, Google, to see if there was any contact between Kohberger and his victims in February. I'm just writing a note. Hold on. And in February, it emerged that he had multiple images of one of the girls on his phone. When it was searched by the call. I have to stop there. I need to debunk some of these things before we get to the actual reason why we're reading this article. Sources told people at the time it was clear he was paying attention to her although they would not reveal which one of the girls it was. So the reason I want to stop there is because if you go down to some of these things, they kind of, in a way, kind of debunk themselves. And this isn't even why we're reading the article. Like right here. Last week, it was revealed police have submitted search warrants for social media companies. If they found the smoking gun, if they found the trophy, I think what it was really telling after these initial search warrants is the excessive amount of search warrants for social media to find a connection. And then afterwards, we hear Ann Taylor on the stand, presumably under oath, saying that there's no connection to the victims. There's also Bill Thompson on the record very firmly saying there was no stalking either. And part of stalking includes surveilling. There's something else that came out more recently that I feel debunks this connection, particularly that he had pictures of one of the girls on his phone. And then this other statement that he was obviously following her. And why I think this is a good way to debunk these things, and this isn't even getting into the initial reason, which was the ID cards. this is just getting into debunking what's being said right here. But if they did have evidence that he was following one of the girls, more recently in June, there was a book written by Howard Bloom, and he claimed that Madison Mogen was the target of the crime. And the Gonzalez family actually put out a statement about this because they basically were saying, if you found a connection, Mr. Bloom, please give it to Bill Thompson promptly because he doesn't have one. And I'll just play you the connection because I featured it in a video and I have it right here. And then I'm going to read to you out of some paperwork from the defense why the fact that he had an ID card is the probability of him having an ID card is next to zero. But let me pull this up for you. So this is actually, I featured this quote from the Gonzalez in one of my videos. It's right here. It's like a little bug flying around. And I'll just, we can just listen to me read it out loud here. So I'm going to go to Discord. Let me read this to you. Let me minimize myself. Okay. From Steve Gonzalez to Andrew Myers. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for this opportunity. We have one primary question regarding Bloom's book. What evidence supports the theory that BK was focused on Maddie Mae? In our recent meeting with the prosecution team, they expressed difficulty in establishing direct connections between BK and the victims. If Bloom has stumbled across some substantial evidence, please get in touch with Thompson and share it promptly. We are collaborating with a digital forensics company to strengthen these connections. Meanwhile, the court's reliance on outdated gag order is proving ineffective, as seen with Bloom's book and the true crime communities shaping these new narratives and expectations. It is the prosecution's responsibility to represent the unembellished truth without any fictional elements. And their task becomes increasingly difficult with each passing day, I'm sure it's supposed to say. We no longer live in a world where media is centralized and on black and white televisions run by ABC networks. Today, people can access countless points of view from all over the world. Most of these content providers are not under the control of any courtroom. Let's hope Judge wakes up and starts being proactive in addressing this situation. Thank you for your time and efforts in this case, Steve Gonzalez. And it's a particularly important thing to read since we all just listened to a world-class professor teach us that acronym WSCA. That's all I got for you today. We have 54 comments. All right, we'll stop there. All right, so that's what the Gonzalez family said. If you have a connection, please provide it because they have nothing as of right now. But I'll show you something that, so again, this document was sent to me by Too Fast, and I have, let me take on this comment. And can you believe it? We're only on the second myth debunking right now. It's just, there's so much to say. So what I'm pulling up right now is this objection to the state's motion for protective order. And this is dated June 22nd of 2023. So this is after, obviously, they claim they found the ID in the glove inside the box. If that's true, the defense wouldn't be able to make statements like this because this is a document made over a year later. I've highlighted it. And this is on page 3. And again, I will link it down below. No matter what came first, the car or the genetic genealogy, the investigation has provided precious little. There is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. I mean, there it is write in writing in a court document. So. Oh, that's the nicest thing. Thank you. I was very self-conscious of my hair tonight, so I appreciate that. So the next myth I wanted to bust tonight, I don't know why I'm saying it like that, debunk. I'm saying it like that because I'm thinking of the Mythbusters show, sorry. Was he was fired from WSU. And there's several points I want to bring up when we talk about that. But what I think is probably the biggest piece of evidence, because it's kind of an official source, is the unredacted search warrant. And Too Fast gave me a link to this. I'll link it below. I found this linked in Reddit if you want to go find it for yourself. And I mean, it's a difficult document because you can't search it. It's like a copy of a copy. But I've read this whole thing, and I kind of summarized on my phone the parts of it that I wanted to tell you about. So first off, the warrant is dated January 17th. And in the warrant, they give instructions of what they want to search. So they talk about searching the office. They also talk about searching the classroom. So there were two different places of BK's employment that they were going to search. And they asked to specifically search an office that had a piece of paper taped to it with 3 people's names, 2 women and Bryan Kohberger. And I'm sorry, I'm screaming at the camera. In that search warrant, it specifically says, go search the office that has Bryan Kohberger's name taped to a piece of paper on it with 2 women. This is January 17th. If he was fired in December, I don't really need to read my notes. I know everything I want to say. So if he was fired in December, the first thing is if he lost his job, just looking at it realistically, as an employer, why would he still, on January 17th, after being arrested when they wrote up the search warrant on the 17th, why would they be indicating that particular office? The other thing is if he was traveling home and he had lost his job, why wouldn't he have cleaned out the things from his office? What kind of an employer fires someone and tells you to take your things at your leisure? But the most telling reason why I don't think BK was fired before he went home on Christmas break is the fact that his housing and tuition were tied into his being a TA at WASU. So if he had lost his teaching assistant position, he also would have lost his funding for school. He would have lost his funding for housing. He wouldn't have had an apartment. He would have had to bring that stuff back to Pennsylvania with him. So I think that in its totality, these things debunk that, but you also have to look at it from the other side of this. What credible source came on to the internet to tell us he had been fired? No one. Nobody credible, first name, last name, going on to a major media source came on the record to say that. So the only statement we have was after his arrest saying that he was no longer employed there. And I'm just turning to the chat because I do want to make sure I got this one right. If I did forget details, because this is a really, I think, important one to debunk. Oh, this is a good comment. Also, Heather Fitzgerald said, and guys, please go visit Heather's channel. She has incredible videos and she's getting a lot of views. She's getting a lot of attention. Large creators, mainstream media are looking at her channel. I'm just getting her channel handle before I keep talking. So please go visit her channel. And Heather says, teaching and research assistants at WSU are in a friggin' union. Do you know how hard it is to fire somebody in a union? It's not like you just fire them. They have levels of protection, but it's a good example of what I was saying about process. So he has rights. I recently heard a woman talking. There was a woman who claimed she had a letter saying BK was fired. And it was just, I don't need to go into what it was in itself, just a fake story. But what it brought up to me is she started talking about the student handbook at WSU, and she had actually said she read through it, and the pages that were stated in this letter that she had, she said that they just talked about policy and procedure. And that's the point I'm trying to make. If you've worked for a corporation, you know nobody snaps unless there's something egregious, like something that is undeniably a fireable offense. You have a due process. You have rights in your employee handbook. You have the right to appeal. Typically, you have the right to, you get warnings. Things don't typically become written warnings. There's verbal warnings. There's an escalation, and so you don't just go from 0 to 100. So, I don't know. I'm just going to see if the chat has anything to add to that, and I think we've put a stake in this one. Hold on. Also, there's 2 documents in January. The officers, law enforcement had to get permission from BK to enter his apartment on 2 separate occasions. And right there, that apartment is tied to funding. And so if his stuff was, because we obviously know on January 2nd, he had been let go. But if his stuff was still there, he was still living there. He didn't lose his apartment. Oh, hey, AR. AR was on Rory's live earlier. I couldn't watch it because I had people over, but incredible live. Talks about the Ada County Correctional Facility. And so I just highly recommend it's Thou Shalt Not Kill, for those who don't know who I'm talking about when I say Rory. Okay. Heather Fitzgerald says, the fact that the Idaho PCA and the Washington and the Pennsylvania PCA literally state on the 29th that he has an office at WSU, it proves he was not fired. And I mean, we're looking at a friggin' search warrant that not only says he has an office, we're talking, okay, you guys, I'm going to tell you the reason I know this off the top of my head is because the numbers were freaking me out. Like, I'm a numbers person, and like BK, I'm not going to get into it because I'm not going to make more conspiracy theories right here on the show. But the numbers were kind of like, I was looking at the office number and I was reading it in detail, the addresses. I was just checking out all the numbers. And that's how I know they're giving specific doors. They're giving specific apartment. Like they're talking about the block, the house, the door. I mean, they're not, he clearly had an office present there when that search warrant was written. Translucent said, the defense would have pleaded by now, in my opinion, if any of this was true. If any of what was? Oh, if any of the, if he was fired? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, and don't forget the WSU letterhead. I do remember that. I can't remember how it played in. And then typically Unate says, I don't think a TA would be in the union. This is a good comment too. Echoes of Clarity says he was grading papers on December 20th. And that kind of plays into like how bad was his disciplinarian action if he wasn't fired on the 20th. And then you know, just say, you know, how hard it is to terminate someone in a union. All right, let's get on to the next myth we're going to debunk. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was that Bryan Kohberger had no friends, had no girlfriends, and was an incel. I kind of this was like 3 things, and I just kind of lumped them together because it makes explaining this easier. So what I think we should start with is this search warrant. Before I move on to the other things, which are basically things I'm just going to tell you about, this search warrant really, really debunks the incel theory, or the fact that he did not have friends or acquaintances. So he shared tight quarters with women. Not only did he share an office, because the search warrant directly specifies that. 2 females and Bryan Kohberger on a piece of paper taped to the door. So he was working in close quarters with females. We also know that he was in study groups with females. He interacted with them on grading papers with females. And so you can see all of that in the search warrant when you see the classroom searches and the office. Now, I could bring up specifics because I have heard podcasts where people have come on and gone on the record, but I've learned, unfortunately, you can't just trust people unless you can actually verify who they are. And if people are doing it anonymously, particularly if they're talking about the case, well, they'd be under the gag order, so she probably shouldn't believe them. I'm beginning to think the litmus test for a prank online is to see if I fall for it first, but I digress. All right, so I do have a soundbite for this too. So let's just start with the Asian female, because this has been kind of a hot topic on my channel recently, and it at least this settles and debunks the incel theory, because what you hear in this video couldn't have been something an incel did. So I'm going to pull up my channel. And if you go to my live streams, it's called Bryan Kohberger's Girlfriend. Hi, welcome back. My name is Swan. Okay, all right. So let me pull up this soundbite. By the way, I am having such beautiful weather here on Cape Cod today. I hope it is nice where you are too. Okay, so if you want to find this article for yourself, it is on itv.com.
Before all that, a special report on the brutal murders of 4 students at the University of Idaho.
I'm going to start right here.
Tall, athletic build as he walked past her to this back door.
Oh, what's happening?
Police initially hunted for a white Hyundai, spotted fleeing the murder scene at high speed. They finally found an identical car here, belonging to postgraduate student Bryan Kohberger.
I spoke to one of Kohberger's neighbours here at his university accommodation in Pullman. He didn't want to go on camera, but said he frequently saw Kohberger in the company of an Asian girl, often laughing and joking. On the night of the murder, he saw him right out here, acting normally.
Okay, so somebody has gone on record with a mainstream media source, and this story was actually reported in several places. I do believe in some way it plays into the case. We don't see it anywhere except on this one station, and I should plug them. I've actually heard several of my subscribers say that this is the news station they watch. It's ITV News. It's out of London. And so at least that proves the incel theory wrong. This could be a woman he works with, but it's definitely somebody that he trusts, to have a relationship with somebody intimate enough that, you know, as friends, that you walk yourself to your home. I mean, that's being pretty close with someone. A couple other things that I think that I could just tell you about that sort of debunk this story. I do have a couple other sound bites for it though. Ashley Flugel. Bryan Kohberger was really good friends with another girl in Pennsylvania named Ashley Flugel. Unfortunately, she was she suffered from drug addiction and she overdosed. In fact, Bryan Kohberger was friends with her at the time, and that was during his drug use. But you can't be an incel and spend the alone time with a person like that. And it really deeply affected him. So, I mean, it does show that he had a relationship with there, from what I know. We also know about the Night Runner. I don't know if you guys know that. I have the clip here. I'm not going to, well, I could just pull it up. Why not? There's the Night Runner. So BK had several people that he went running with. One of them was in Pennsylvania. And it was his friends. So just say that he didn't have friends. Now, we've had a couple people come on YouTube and claim they were friends of BK. I just don't know if they're real or not, so I don't want to bring them up. But this person has been verified, so I'm going to bring him up. Let's help my camera. So I'm going to go back to my channel. I've done a video on like everything. So this video, if you want to go to my channel to look it up, I did this a while ago. All right, so this is called, what the heck, I thought this was my alibi one. What's this one? Were we originally told that the 911 call,
where I'm told by a neighbor who walked by that morning, who was coming back to his apartment, was wide open around 8:39 a.m. He told me that he gave that information to investigators, but we hadn't heard too much about that front door. And around 8:39 a.m.
my Night Runner is not in here. Have you seen? Oh, this stinks, you guys. I thought I had the Night Runner photo right here. I'm kind of coming up with this on the fly. This wasn't part of the show. But I want to bring it up because I'm thinking of it. Remember when Steve G told us that BK's cell phone was so close to the 1122 King Road home that it touched the Wi-Fi? What did he mean by that? Okay, we'll stop there. I guess that one's going to be in the next Mythbusters show. All right, I'm going to take this down. I'm just going to, so there was a Night Runner that he used to go running with as well. There also was an uncorroborated story. I mean, it's hard. Like, I don't know if, I don't want to just blindly report on things that are printed in a book that doesn't tell us our sources, but there was an account of somebody who he went running with at Wash-Sioux as well. But what is verified is the story of the pool party. And we have multiple people, first and last name, that went on record talking about that. And in this, they don't give the most flattering accounts of BK for sure, but they do talk about his socialization. Although he wasn't on top of his game, he definitely was talking to, according to them, he definitely was making the rounds and he was talking to people. He also talked to 2 women. He didn't just talk to them. He actually got both of their numbers. And the way that these women are described, they're not like wallflowers. Like, they were in thong bikinis with, one of them had a tattoo on her thigh. The other one had pink hair. I mean, so they're a little outgoing, right? So anyway, the pool party is another thing that debunks this no friends, no incel, no girlfriends theory. Hold on. Oh, and then I think Heather has a video about this. I wanted to show another soundbite from Heather, and then I'm going to turn to the comments and star a couple things while I'm playing it because it's like a 1.5 minute soundbite, and then I'll go over some of the comments you guys have. They had complicated tattoos. I didn't hear about the actual tattoos. I actually made a playlist for this show tonight. Right here. So this is, if you want to go to Heather's channel, this one's called IDAHO4. Austin tells us why what Kohberger was really like.
jail hours away from an extra.
And I'm going to just go to the 1 minute mark. I want to go. Okay, there we go.
Little bit, but we definitely still have a lot of work to do.
And tonight, we're learning more about the suspect. Austin Morrison says Kohberger was a teaching assistant in a criminal justice class he took at Washington State.
Just rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot. Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot. Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot.
Thank you for sharing the link.
Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot. Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot.
Shocked by his arrest and will not fight extradition to Idaho.
Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot. Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot.
Kohberger's public defender saying his client was shocked by his arrest and will not fight extradition to Idaho.
He believes he will be exonerated. He believes he will be exonerated.
He says Kohberger traveled by car from Washington to Pennsylvania with his father, who said his son was acting normally. Police seizing a white Hyundai Elantra at Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania, the same model they say was seen near the crime scene around the time of the attack. Two law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation tell NBC News that DNA evidence played a role in leading investigators to the suspect. Meanwhile, Steve Gonzalez is still reeling from the loss of his 21-year-old daughter.
Our next mission is really to find justice and make sure that we have a closing chapter that meets the expectations of all the families.
Gandhi, the suspect's attorney says he won't fight extradition. It won't be until after that he's back in Idaho that we start to get some real answers here.
That's right, Lester. And we understand that authorities are now saying when he is brought back to Idaho, they will finally be able to unseal that probable cause statement in court. And that probable cause statement is likely to specify a lot more of the evidence they are using against him, including potential DNA.
Rather quiet, very off to the side, standoffish. He sat in the class, didn't do a whole lot.
I will end by saying this. Our defense team firmly, and I mean firmly, believes in Mr.
That's for another video or another debunking. Okay, so I mean, I'm glad. I feel like we're making progress here in our list. Yeah, but I mean, I'd love to know what you think in the chat. I think I've recorded all of the major ones that were actually confirmed as of friends and women. But if you do know something that's confirmed, if you do know contact, please let me know in the chat. If I missed something, I'd like to add it to the list just so for no reason. Yeah, so the next one I'm going to bring up, I was hoping Robert would be here for this one. I'm actually not going to bring this one up because I want to hear Robert when I say it out loud. All right, so let's go to the next one I want to bring up is that the police pulled Bryan. So remember the drug interdiction stops that we talk about all the time in Indiana. When Bryan Kohberger was traveling to Pennsylvania from Washington with his father. So I will tell you, like, I did fall for this one too. In one of these stories, it looks like he has a cut, like a scarred up cut on his hand. And I did a video on it. I kind of got called out by Pavarotti, so I thought it'd be interesting to play the clip for you. I was with Robert. He totally agreed with me. But I'll tell you how we got tricked, because there's a way that we got tricked. And now that I'm looking back in retrospect, I know exactly what happened. So let me pull that up. Shout out to Pavarotti. Okay, so I think it's the next one on this.
Jail hours away from an extradition hearing that could send him back to Idaho, where police say,
if you want to go to my channel, the title of it is this the reason why Bryan Kohberger was pulled over twice? And the title says Pavarotti theory.
Okay, so those two questions have absolutely nothing to do with following somebody too close, but those are the initial two questions that Highway Patrol drug interdiction teams use to start establishing the credibility of the story of the drivers and the passengers of the vehicle. It's important, folks, is because when you start to open your eyes to what's going on in America today, everything revolves around drugs.
So after I released this video, I had this reaction video made. The video got a lot of views. Let's see, it got—
Welcome to the revealing.
I mean, he has 3,000 subscribers, but this video got like 9,300 views. So it was pretty popular. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. Well, yeah, we're gonna watch the whole thing. Here we go.
I'm your host, Pavarotti, bringing you information on the IDAHO4 case. This is an entertainment channel. It's my opinions. I'm not here to slander anyone. With that being said, let's get started. Today, I want to react to a video by Swamp Rose. And it's a video discussing aspects of the two traffic stops that Mr. Kohberger experienced on his way from Washington State to Pennsylvania. And they have some interesting comments and questions on there. And I'd like to react to a few of those, probably in a little different manner than they are. But that being said, let's get started.
I've heard a lot of rumblings that both of those stops were controlled stops by the FBI. Because they wanted the Indiana Highway Patrol to see if they couldn't get a look at Bryan's hands, to see if he had any cuts on his hands.
Do you think his hands look swollen in that picture, in your personal opinion?
A little bit. I mean, not too bad, but I know they showed a close up, and on the close-up, you could see what looked like dried blood on the side of his hand, on the side of his arm. But
I didn't really see that. But I thought the same as you. They looked a little swollen. I couldn't see anything of note. It did. I mean, it looked like the knuckle wasn't showing, which can sometimes indicate someone who's been punching and maybe broke their or pushed their knuckle. But
Leslie said it looks like a cut or it's a shadow.
It looks like a cut or a shadow. All right, let's take a look.
Hi, Casey.
Hey, Casey. Here we go.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay. Cool. Where are you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU, and
what's WSU?
That is what.
So we're okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where? Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're slightly lucky because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
We're driving. Almost a day.
Okay. The reason this was all brought up is we were saying that one of Bryan's sisters said something about Bryan and Brent early on, and then it has been scrubbed. And so we were asking where we could get that or reference it. And somebody in the live chat said, well, in this stop, it was interesting because Bryan's father refers to Brent as a criminology major. So that's what we're looking to see if we can hear. We also want to see if we could see the hands. It's not, you know, that we're implicating anyone. But hold on, let's keep. I think we just said criminology major right there. Did you hear it, Robert?
I mean, you can hardly hear it over the sound of the traffic.
It's terrible. I know. But I just wanted to see if somebody else could hear it. I didn't know if we could. Let's just see if we could hear it again. I'll play the whole thing.
So y'all work at the university there? Actually, you were there. Oh. Okay.
I think he was talking about Bryan.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
Robert, you're right.
Appreciate you.
100% right. Okay. When I heard back when I said, oh, I just heard it, criminology major, you're right. He was talking about Bryan. I'm just looking if there were any more comments here. Okay, on the line. Yeah, that's what we were wondering. Was he talking about Brent or his son? That's what Robert just said. And then Leslie writes about his son. And we're going back.
Absolutely nothing to do with following somebody too close, but those are the initial two questions that Highway Patrol drug interdiction teams use.
I'll tell you, so we're going back to look at it, but here's the thing is I'm beginning to remember. So Pavarotti made this video, like a response to a video that Robert and I did. Cause I'm watching this and I'm like, Robert and I like really broke down. Give me 1 second. I'm going to play this so you guys can see the picture. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to see if I have a more accurate, like close up of the actual shot. And then I'll tell you why we're debunking this story and how I was tricked with this story and how you can avoid being tricked too.
Use to start establishing the credibility.
And while I'm saying that, Pavarotti, everything he's saying is 100% right. Like there's nothing about this is about me and Robert and in a deep dive we were doing. So I don't want to include Pavarotti like we're debunking Pavarotti or something.
Of the story of the drivers and the passengers of the vehicle. It's important, folks, is because when you start to open your eyes to what's going on in America today, everything revolves around drugs.
So after I released this video, I had this reaction video made. The video got a lot of views. Let's see, it got.
Welcome to the revealing.
I mean, he has 3,000 subscribers, but this video got like 9,300 views. So it was pretty popular. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. Well, yeah, we're gonna watch the whole thing. Here we go.
I'm your host, Pavarotti.
Okay.
Giving you information on the IDAHO4 case. This is an entertainment channel. It's my opinions. I'm not here to slander anyone. With that being said, let's get started.
I'm just gonna.
Today I want to react to a video by Swamp Rose. And it's a video discussing aspects of the 2 traffic stops that Mr. Kohberger experienced on his way from Washington State to Pennsylvania. And they have some interesting comments and questions on there. And I'd like to react to a few of those, probably in a little different manner than they are. But that being said, let's get started.
I've heard a lot of rumblings that both of those stops were controlled stops by the FBI.
Okay.
Because they.
So I wanted to give Pavarotti one more plug before I went back. So let me show you the actual close-ups of this because I found the video. But I'm actually glad we played Pavarotti because not only was Pavarotti right, but Jeff was right. Jeff H. I should just give him a shout out right now. He pushed back on me and Robert for like 45 minutes.
Body camera video showing them pulling over Kohberger and his father on December 15th. The pair was driving from Washington to Pennsylvania, a trip they had pre-planned. Indiana State Police said Kohberger was behind the wheel when
look at his hand right there.
Oh, look at that. Let me just take down Mike's comment. I've never seen it so clear. Comments, guys? Comments on that in the live
outside
chat?
of Indianapolis for following too closely. Indiana's police say at
Pause it
the
right
time
there.
of the stop, there was no.
What was that?
I said pause it right there.
Yeah.
Look at the scar on the side of his arm.
Jesus. And it looks like a 6-week-old scar too. And then Jeff says, that's a shadow on his wrist, in my opinion. I'm usually the one leaning towards his guilt. Consider the angle of the sun. Okay.
That doesn't look like a shadow.
Red. Like a shadow to me either. But thank you, Jeff, for your opinion. Thank you. And then Jeff says that's a total shadow on his wrist.
No, it's not. Leslie says, Swamp Rose, look at the bruise.
Fine, Leslie. I see it. I see it.
I think the stops were controlled so the FBI could know if he had any injuries on his hands.
Jeff had emailed me another picture of Bryan's hand. Jeff says, as a photographer for 30 years, I'm pretty convinced it was a shadow on BK's wrist. Well,
I don't think it was a shadow.
So that's how it all started.
I've heard a lot of rumblings that both of those stops were controlled stops.
So I played the introduction just because obviously that's where you're going to see the close-ups of it. So I'll tell you how we got. So what you don't see is how we got to that part, because what I snipped there is like 20 minutes from a 2 or 3 hour live stream. And one of our people in the live chat had brought us to looking, they were bringing up the myth that the 2 stops were done so that they could get a good look at BK's hands and wrists to see if they had injuries. So when they brought this up, we decided to go get footage. And in the chat, somebody specifically told us to go to this video. And I mean, I don't know the exact channel, but it's like some sort of major news station out of Philly. It's out of PA. I want to say it's out of Philly. And what's interesting is I've seen this same news outlet put other interesting stories out too. But what's interesting is you can only see that shot in their video, because we went and looked at dozens and dozens of other videos and we could not find anything that had that same scar. And I'm not accusing them of putting anything in the video, but what I will say is we all have different equipment. We all process and edit our videos in a different way. And many of us use filters that brighten the colors. And it could be something as simple as that. And they, you know, or it could be that, but I'm not going to go on the record and say a major news station was doing a deep fake, but that's another possibility. Yeah, so I'm just going to see if I had any other comments I want to bring up about the scar. And there was some really good comments in the live chat I wanted to read. I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Wait, no, I just said, like, it's kind of funny how I fall for all of these. It might be like, if you guys want to know if a story is fake, maybe see if I listen to it. I'm obviously trying to be funny, but I'm going to start with the starred comments and then I'll get to some of the new ones. And I have a couple in here that we will add to the list, like talking about the Wi-Fi getting touched. I didn't, yeah, anyway. So, and that one's irrelevant. Do we know when BK is moving to Boise? I started this one just because I thought he was already in Boise, but I could be mistaken. I don't know. But I brought it up because I feel like somebody knows in the chat who could probably update us rather than me going and searching for the answer on the internet. And another thing we're going to talk about is the Lolo Mountains. I started that one. Let me get down to the questions about the drug interdiction stop. So Heather says he was talking about an accident that had just happened a few hours earlier, or talking about an incident that had just happened a few hours earlier. Yes. And I mean, I don't feel like, I don't feel like if they were driving, I mean, it would be the first thing I'd probably mention too. If somebody was asking you where you came from and there's a national news story just feet from where you just left, like, and the cop was saying, where are you coming from? I might say, oh, we know that, you know, crazy, you know, guy that they just took out, the person that they took out in that crazy way down over it was, I would see where, like, I don't come down on his father or think that's suspicious in any way that he mentioned that. I'll shut up, sorry. Tarot says pinky on the hand could be bruised. I would say we could definitely do another deep dive, but don't go by this footage that I'm using because it does appear to have something uniquely different about it than like the other footage. I liked this one too, that Tarot said, killer held knife blade down, not blade up in this crime, in my opinion. Max force downward stabs if victims are beneath you. And I'm sorry, I should have a trigger warning up. You just stumbled onto the show. This is a true crime podcast, and we do talk about some graphic content, particularly the crime scene. I'm going to go ahead and put a banner up just so you know that everything that I'm saying is simply my opinion. And where the heck is my banner? Okay, all commentary is speculation. It's our opinion and it's just reaction. You know, so Tarot, that's interesting. I think what I always thought you had to hold it blade up. I don't know. So thank you for letting us know. Oh, Jeff says back to it. Judging by the angle of the sun that seemingly blinded Bryan's dad, I'd say the shadow is not a cut. Well, you don't have to be sarcastic. Mish Girl says that stop was a full month after the homicides. I know that, you guys, but I do feel like I'd have a mark like a month after an injury, especially if it like cut through every layer of my skin. But I'm not contradicting you, Mish Girl. I'm just contradicting the thousands of people who've said that same thing to me. I'm joking. Viviana says, also with K-Bar, you are unlikely to get cut anyways because of the guard. So I doubted he would have any injuries. And it's a really good point. And the red wine snow says, I do think I see a mark. Look more at his right wrist. Okay. Oh yeah, we saw that one too. I just don't trust this footage. I wish I knew what. See. Yeah, I don't know what TV station this is. All right, I'm going back to the live comments, and then we're going to move on to our next myth. Wait. Let me stop my camera. Sorry. And Mishkal says, Kiki, the booking photo shows no scar. I think that that is actually, thank you for saying that, Mishkal. I'm going to add that to my debunking, but guys, note that. Let's put all of this discussion about the drug interdiction stops to the side. And you know what? We have had somewhat confirmation that these were drug interdiction stops. So kudos to Pavarotti for calling that before they actually announced it. But yeah, the booking photo, no scars there. Oh, we've already been live streaming for an hour. In court, Payne said that they didn't get BK's name till the 20th. Why would there be a controlled stop in Indiana? They left on the 15th. So what he's saying, yeah, so, okay, actually, thank you, Patricia Presley. That debunks what we're talking about right now. They wouldn't have pulled him over to look at his wrists. They didn't even know about him until the 20th. That doesn't preclude, though, the FBI. But yes, that totally says that this wasn't like, I'm not Pullman, Moscow contacting the state police or something. FBI should have had his name, I believe, by the 20th via the IGG tip. But these, according to sources from the FBI, and we have no way to corroborate if they're right or not, it wasn't them. This was done purely naturally by the Indiana State Police. I don't know. I should stop talking right now. I just like this comment. I want to read it out loud. I've been being honest. I'm not really into true crime, but heavily into psyops for over 25 years. Only psyops take this much work, and here I am. LOL. I like your name, by the way. It was the name of my ballet teacher when I was little. All right, we're moving on to the next myth. Ooh, and I'm getting tired. I don't know how much more of these I can do. Okay, let's go to BK's sister's Reddit comment. This one is intense, you guys. So major trigger warnings. Like all around. Okay, so how do I do this? I have to go to window. All right, I've got to reopen this. It's not letting me. All right, here we go. It's worth the wait, you guys. And again, I'm going to link everything below so that if you want to go ahead and keep debunking these myths when people talk about them, I really want you to have the information too. All right, let me open this. All right, so let me set this up for you. This was posted to the Murder Idaho 4 Reddit group. And, well, I'm just going to read it to you and then we'll talk about it. This person claims to be Bryan Kohberger's sister, posting anonymously to Reddit. I'm posting anonymously because Bryan is my family and you... Hold on one second, you guys. I'm just taking myself off the screen. Okay. I cannot find the thing to move this. Hold on. Oh, I see. All right, I'm posting this anonymously. I cannot see if you, okay. The problem is I can't see the screen on StreamYard, so I can't tell if you guys can see it when I leave my screen. I'm posting anonymously because Bryan is my family, and you people in this group act like vultures and rabid raccoons. Bryan is innocent, and you will see he has been framed by his D partner and friend, security guard from the University of Idaho. They were doing D's together in a parking lot as they had done numerous times, but when security guards started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window, Bryan left the security guard and drove back to his apartment. The reason why the phone was off was because the battery was flat and the security guard was using the car charger. Bryan put his phone on the charger when he left the parking lot. And sorry, I'm yawning, you guys. And he switched it back when he went, when he was near his apartment, because that's how long it took to get the charge going. Bryan's knife was also in the car, and the security guard was holding it because he was using it to chop up a little yay lines. I can't say, you guys, I'm sorry, I just can't say these names out loud. They flag me, the AI bots and the algorithm flag me when I say things like that out loud. Yes, I said yay, because Bryan stopped H years back and substituted the D with yay. He has tried so hard to stop everything, but he's an addict and he has bad migraines. So yay actually helps him. He had no idea security guard was going to do what he did, and he just wanted to teach security guard a lesson by leaving him behind. Bryan actually feels terrible that he left this maniac behind, but it's not his fault. You people need to stop with these singing videos and funny pictures of Bryan and my dad, or we will sue you for everything you have. All of you just get a life and stop playing Facebook detectives, because you are a bunch of bored, I'm sorry, I'm like yawning. You are a bunch of bored losers who have no morals. Okay. I actually kind of want to turn to the chat to debunk this one before I say what I'm going to say. Wait, hold on. I literally just woke up. The dog laughing. I gotta find out what you guys are talking about. I was saying the battery was flat. That sounds like somebody from the UK would describe a battery being dead. You're so right, Jeff. Doesn't really sound like an American faker. Yeah, right. Does anyone in the US say battery? No, nobody says that. You do think it's his sister? Trisha, I'm going to tell you, I think everything is real. But the problem is, and what I was going to use to debunk this one is Sai's quote. Like, let's say that this is like not real. Let's just go on that assumption. It's still, if that was actually his sister, who might be a character witness, if she submitted something that could have been evidence, exculpatory, to social media, I mean, she would have been arrested. But furthermore, is this would have been taken down. And we know they can take things down. And I'm not saying this to you, like pointing at you. I'm just debunking here in debunking mode. But we know they can take things down. We watched Dylan get scrubbed for the most part from Reddit, or lots of really bad Dylan stories get scrubbed from Reddit. They can take these things down, and they didn't. And if this were evidence, if it really was his sister saying a real account of what happened, this could influence witnesses. So it's not just about the jury pool and everything. It's about influencing people who are other witnesses in the case too. But again, I'm so sorry. I'm holding your comment up here while I'm like preaching. She replies, I'm not saying it's true, but what gets me is is that they say the family at the end, and she said my dad. I'm going to be honest, if like I didn't really have Heather Fitzgerald, I probably would believe this too. But I know the reality, you know, and I don't know. Well, thank you for sharing your opinion. Let's get some more opinions, and I'm going to pull up what Sai says, because maybe it doesn't apply in this case. And I could definitely use a little bit of insight from the people watching. Wait, and offline, wait, all offline and cloned? I don't know. Oh, Jeff comes through with a big comment. Some of us have creative theories and we share them in a chat room. And then there's other people like this person who made a post pretending to be somebody and they not to share their theory. Dot. I think Dot's not included in the show. Let's not do Dot tonight. In my opinion. And Red Riding Hood doesn't play in it. ID assigned them to the US. Okay. Oh, okay. We're talking about something different. I think, Tarat, you might be on our initial debunking, which was the naked man. Oh, no, that wasn't in this video. And then Viviana says, and thank you for being here tonight, Viviana. I love when you're in the chat to help us with this. Oh, Viviana, I'm so glad you're here. I want to bring something off topic. In one of my videos I released today, I was talking about the debunking of the photography group out back of the King Road home. And I had a pretty good conversation with you about that once, and we had gone over a lot of details, but I couldn't remember any specifics to give this subscriber. And so anyway, if you remember where you had read the post that it was a prank, that would be great, or any info you have on that, or anyone else in the chat too. She called Gilter's rabid wreck. Yeah, there's no way. I don't think the sister would have worded that like that. Tara says, to DM here, the guy is saying that not knowing the guy was saying to DM not to startle her. Jane says, I'm going to sleep now, and I've just slept up my murder. I've just set up my murder playlist on Spotify to fall asleep to. LOL. But it's 5:25 here in GB. Good night, Kiki and chat. Thank you for being here, and I hope you get some rest and relaxation, Jane. Good night. Trish says, you think I am wishful thinking that someone would come out and call someone lies? Oh, did somebody say? Well, let's take that down then. I hope I didn't say the wishful thinking. If I did, it wasn't applying to you, darling. Somebody's saying to move to Germany in here. They're not nosy people. Oh, wait, hold on. So he's the one who came out and said it was debunked? Thank you. Alex Beaver Productions from Phoenix, Arizona. He's a filmmaker with the Grub truck that night. And at the beginning, they said my dad, but I don't think. Let me bring this up. Trisha says, at the beginning, then they said my dad, but I don't know if I feel like it was someone that knows him. But I do feel like it's someone who knows him. But there's so much in this case that you wouldn't think of who would do that. And then there's Dot. Literally multiple comments end with that tonight. No smoking gun. Oh, people are putting other things to debunk in the next show. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to move on to the next debunking. Oh, wait, wasn't I going to play a video? I was going to play a video about this one. Okay, So we do have to do something to actually debunk it. And although I think people are coming up with some actual evidence that's been debunked, I brought something up that generally I thought could debunk this. And if you interpret what is said a totally different way, I understand, and don't worry about it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts below. I don't think this video that I want is actually listed. It's not. All right, let me pull it out of my studio. All right, this is a private video I have. And the reason I actually have this is because I got an very kind and generous shout out from Social 8 Crime Club. And I really appreciate all of their help and the kind words they said. But in this video, they start talking about how you know if something is real evidence when there's a gag order on a case. And they're not speaking specifically about the IDAHO4 case. However, everything they said can really be applied to a lot of these things we see that we wonder if they're real or not. And I really don't know what the timestamp is. I'm just
Here for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch directions for just a little bit because it came up again tonight. Like I've seen it 3 times tonight, 3 times, people. So I want to talk about this just a little bit. We talked about something this week, and we got a lot of traction on some other shows. There were a lot of comments about it. So I want to cover, what is a gag order?
Yeah.
Like,
so
why do the courts issue a gag order? What is it used for? What does that mean? Who does it apply to?
And thank goodness for Brianna, because she actually tracks, well, her and our entire team actually, they do track a lot of information that's out there that people have just questions about, that there seems to be a lot of confusion around, or maybe some misinterpretations, or people just trying to figure out and they don't have any clear answers. And so Bree came to us and said, hey, I think this would be a really good idea if you'd cover this, because it seems that people are searching for answers and clarity on this. So that's what we're going to do for you now.
Yeah. So, and I want to start with a couple of things that might surprise a lot of people. It is totally normal for gag orders to be in place. I would say probably half of the cases that I've worked over the last 30 years, we've had a gag order in place. So number one, this is not special to some certain case. We see this all the time. I am currently under multiple gag orders. So it's not just one case that I've seen this. I'm like, oh, wow, that's weird. I'm under a gag order. Me getting served.
I'm going to pause right here because I think, most importantly, we want to give updates when we're covering this case. And Dar Square has come to us with an update. Finally, Cooler Cali, alas, let's talk over under. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they was saying BK got moved. I'm really overtired. I need to just ignore me. Sorry.
For gag orders to be in place. I would say probably half of the cases that I've worked over the last 30 years, we've had a gag order in place. So number one, this is not special to some certain case. We see this all the time. I am currently under multiple gag orders. So it's not just one case that I've seen this. I'm like, oh, wow, that's weird. I'm under a gag order. Me getting served by a process server or a subpoena or a gag order is a Thursday for us. So it's very, very common, is the first thing I want to get into. This is not abnormal at all. The second thing that people need to understand is that, especially on high profile cases, somebody coming in and looking at evidence early in the case before anything has been put out to the public, and then for some reason no longer working on that case and divulging the things that they have seen, completely perverts the justice system. And this isn't just a defense thing. It screws up the entire case. The prosecution can have all kinds of problems. The defense can have all kinds of problems. It's a big deal. So as these cases go, law enforcement is actually restricted. Law enforcement, if you really screw this up, and I've seen it in a couple cases, you can be fired. So there is some some actual things that can happen to law enforcement officers if they violate this. They don't have to necessarily sign a gag order. But for an expert who is not involved in the initial investigation but gets involved later on, this is super common. Before anything is really communicated back and forth with either prosecution or defense, depending on what you're doing with your expertise, you will typically be sent these gag orders. And the gag order will say, hey, the judge has actually brought this gag. Now, one thing I want to talk about here a little bit is this piece right here. If an expert claims he or she received any evidence or any form of communication reference the following, they are bound by the gag order. It only relates to people who've been afforded the access to sealed evidence. So let's say that there's a case, hypothetical, not going to talk about any particular case, hypothetical, there's a case where, I don't know, maybe an affidavit, a search warrant affidavit gets released to the public. You can Google it and it pops up. Okay, that is now public information. The gag order no longer pertains to that probable cause affidavit because it's out to the public. Everybody has seen it. However, there's a lot of stuff in that case or any other case or something else where that stuff hasn't been seen. And the problem becomes when you start to get people who are commenting on this before it actually goes into court, it doesn't follow the criminal justice system. And it can really, like I said earlier, pervert things. So where I wanted to cover in this a little bit further, because it really irritated me, I watched part of the video, I could barely stomach to get through it, of this guy.
Jen, I have an answer to this. So I'm going to start because you're asking a really good question about the photography crew. So I'm putting a star there and I'll get back to you. But there's something really important to hear right here. I don't know if we're at the point where I want to get to the Garrett discovery. I do want to talk about the Instagram accounts though. And I just want to, if you listen to what he's saying right now, so many of us have linked our research online with the initial BK Instagram profile and different things related to that. And come to find out it's fake. And again, something I fell for hook, line, and sinker, and I've made lots of videos on. I found a couple different ways to somewhat debunk it, but one of the most interesting was from a well-known user on X, and they showed their screen. They did a screen recording when they announced Bryan Kohberger was, the suspect, and they only showed that one main name. He's like, I Googled it within 1 minute of it being announced. And he said that the next time he was recording it in real time, and the next time he entered it, there was like 15 different or 20 different Bryan Kohberger accounts. And some of them had a lot of subscribers or followers. So, I mean, these were people were putting a lot of thought into creating these fake accounts long before Bryan's name was announced. So going off of that initial one that they had, I mean, that was the one that was featured in the Garrett discovery. And so I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go say too much about Garrett discovery, but I'm going to stop right there because he started talking about evidence. So we know that Garrett discovery was submitted to the defense, or they worked with them. And then the relationship was severed. And I think part of the story is financials weren't met on somebody's behalf. And so there was some sort of falling out. I don't know exactly it's unclear to me. And then they approached the prosecution, but were denied. They didn't want what they had. And then what we were told recently is that, well, anyway, I'm not going to get into what we were told recently. My point is this, is I had my fact checkers look at this thing, particularly Heather Fitzgerald, who is my #1 fact checker. And Heather did such intensive research on this paper. And she researched the person's phone number, and it ended up being Nancy Grace. And when she went over the data, the #1 search term was hair extensions and makeup, are the #1 and 2. And along with the alleged real account, there were a ton of fake accounts. So what's really interesting is I was recommended a live by Truth and Transparency. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday. And she talked about when she researched the Garrett discovery. And it sounded like she really went deep into her research, and she was saying that the dates were after the arrest. So like the dates on those accounts were after the arrest, or she in some detail looked at the data. And I don't know exactly what she's talking about, but I do know that she is a larger creator who went on the record saying she debunked the Garrett when it was presented to her. The reason I bring that up is because he's about to talk about something similar that maybe we could glean a little bit of knowledge from when it comes to these gagged cases. And then what I'm going to do is bring up some of the things that have been debunked and some of the silly things that I've entertained, and give you a few more facts. So I'll shut up now and we'll play the rest of Cy. And we're just going back to when he talks about this highlighted part, and then he'll get into the behavior of an expert witness when there's a gag order on a case.
Or something else where that stuff hasn't been seen. And the problem becomes when you start to get people who are commenting on this before it actually goes into court, it doesn't follow the criminal justice system. And it can really, like I said earlier, pervert things. So where I wanted to cover in this a little bit further, because it really irritated me, I watched part of the video, I could barely stomach to get through it, of this guy, this expert, and he's an expert. He's testifying expert. I'll give it to him. He's an expert. But he testifies about how he made contact with a particular prosecution and defense team, reviewed some evidence, and he bailed out. And now he's talking about...
Oh, he bailed out because they couldn't afford him.
Yeah, just a number of different things. Well, if you look at what I have in italics here, if you, number one, you will never see a piece of actual evidence on a criminal investigation as an expert. If that case is under a gag order, you have to sign the gag order. Nothing will be turned over to you until you sign a gag order. On top of that gag order, there's typically an NDA, and it's a non-disclosure agreement. What's really important with NDAs is a lot of times non-disclosure agreements will actually say, hey, you can't even tell anybody you're working this case until it gets released through the courts. So a lot of experts who are working on these particular cases, they can't even tell people like, hey, I'm part of this case because it hasn't been put on the court record yet. So for someone to say, I worked on this case, I reviewed this data, I now have these opinions, you're violating pretty much everything that's in italics here. Evidence regarding the occurrence or transactions involved in the case. You can't talk about it. This one's really interesting. The character, credibility, reputation, or criminal record of a party, victim, or witness. If I was to go on YouTube and challenge the credibility of a witness on an active case, and my challenge to that witness is based off of things that I've reviewed as part of this gag order, I've just violated the gag order. You can't do that.
We need to stop here. So I don't want to, certainly I'm not here to put anybody on the spot or calling anybody out, but you have to understand, I have to stop, and I've displayed this comment. I have to stop and push back on it. Garrett didn't do anything to discredit Cy. Garrett brought up a case, and they talked about the procedure that went on, and Cy was the hero in that story. Cy was the one who actually came and said this work, that he was called as a consultant. He wasn't even the person doing the work. He was called as a consultant to review the work. And he was the hero in that instance. And that's my words that I'm using as the expert who said, no, this is incomplete evidence. It can't be used. And you know what happened? They actually took it back, did it right, I believe. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. He wasn't discredited. He talked about it in his last live stream, and I'm not going to speak for him, put words in his mouth. But I'm just debunking that because unfortunately you've been fed another one of these myths. Cy has not been discredited in any way, shape, or form. He's an expert witness for mainly prosecutions. This is his first defensive case ever. So anyway, I'm loyal to Cy and Carrie because what you don't see in this video that happens later on is they actually give me credit and call me out by name. So that's why I'm playing a clip of this video. So anyway, sorry to be triggered. I'll keep going.
You can't comment on the case in any way, shape, or form. So we've been really careful with this, and we just had a couple questions come up before. And I know they're very random questions, but I have to avoid those because I'm sure you all can appreciate I don't want to be put in a situation where someone says, well, yeah, but you know what they were talking about.
There.
Because I have signed this gag order, and because I've signed this gag order, I can't talk about it at all. And I get really careful about even the hypothetical of talking about it. More importantly, and the reason I wanted to cover this tonight is when you see other experts who claim to have seen some type of evidence on any high-profile case in which a gag order is in place, they're lying. If they're not lying, it's actually violating a criminal court order. You can be held in contempt of court. It's a misdemeanor. It's jail time and a fine. So just be careful about when you see these people who say, oh no, I saw this evidence or I saw this data. They probably didn't, because we take these gag orders.
Okay, so obviously I was fooled by another internet myth. Oh wait, that wasn't the comment I wanted to display. We all got new workout goals when we met AI Matt. Just saying. We were like, okay, I guess it's humanly possible.
Very, very seriously. And any expert whose career is being an expert, you don't violate a gag order. You violate that gag order, you're done.
And if they're talking about that, then they probably need to be to law enforcement so that an investigation can begin
last week on
the truth of their statements or not.
Here's the thing, is he actually broke that entire scenario down. It's what I would highly recommend, rather than me chopping up this live stream and ruining the debunking I'm doing. I highly recommend you go watch Sai's latest video where he does talk about this. He will break it down for you, and you can't deny what the man says. I mean, he's brilliant. And so if somebody wants to discredit him, I would listen to very carefully what they're saying, write their name down, and then go see what kinds of cases that they've been involved with. See what their credibility is. Think about the source when you hear information.
My wife is brilliant. So anyway, I wanted to cover that a little bit because I know we've had a couple of questions come up, and I'll just kind of go through them really quick. Yeah, and anybody can look this up. Just Google Fifth Circuit, Google offense. It'll come up. You can read it yourself. If you go to the last page, one of the judges who was part of this ruling, I think he surmises his thoughts really, really well at the end. And basically he says, hey, law enforcement, we get it. This is going to sting. This is going to hurt. However, we also have seen in the past, when we give you latitude, you abuse it. And we're drawing the line because we don't want that abuse.
And we are not in disagreement with that. We have seen law enforcement severely abuse the rights of citizens often.
I have abused the rights of citizens, not intentionally, but then I've reviewed a case and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
But at least you say something prior to trial.
And I don't think people realize, I would love everybody who's listening right now, put yourself at work. And whatever your job is, you're midday in your job and you do something dumb and you're like, oh, I should have done that. I know better. Oops, my bad. I don't think people realize cops, prosecutors, defense attorneys, judges, they have the same days. I've had things where I found myself in a situation, I'm like, oh, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. Now, you own it, you fix it, you explain it. But I think it's also important. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We're all infallible. I will continue. Carrie points it out daily to me.
I think the main thing is, though, just like
going too far into this, and it's because they're very entertaining, and obviously they have a great show, so it's easy to just listen to them. And I'm getting off track here. The whole point of showing that was that so we could debunk the next 3 things on my list. Let me pull this up. So we've got a few of them here left that we can kind of debunk all at once now that we've been debriefed on that. You know what? We might get through the whole list tonight, you guys. Shoot. I didn't write these down and I deleted the file. Well, anyway, I know what we're going up next. So the couple other things that I wanted to debunk now that we know that initial true Instagram account was fake. I did an extensive study on another fake story. I feel like such an idiot. This whole show is like about me and all the things I fell for. So one of the things linked to that was visual snow. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. So we're going to, before we get to the visual snow, more important, I think it'd be fun to show you the rap, because the rap song I fell for too. And I think we might need a little energy. So let me bring up the rap song. So I got the rap. And I didn't have a lot of time to look for this rap. So I have to give a trigger warning before I show you this, because it is JB Gunner's site, and I know he triggers a lot of people. That's no offense to JB Gunner, but he does. And so the language that he uses doesn't necessarily reflect my opinions or the language that I would choose to use, but I really want to hear the rap, and he found it. So it was on SoundCloud, and I went looking for the user. And the segment's really short. He doesn't play the whole thing. He plays like the first 16 bars or something. So let's listen to BK rap. And this is JB Gunner. Hold on, let me put up a banner so that JB doesn't mind them reusing his content. JB's back on YouTube, but I don't think I have a JB Gunner banner. We were reacting to something he said a while back, and something he said, we can debunk that one too. Maybe not use his content in the live stream anymore. I can't remember what it was. LA will be debunking everything tonight. Well, JB Gunner. What, I have really thought I made LA a mod like a month ago. Okay, let's listen to JB Gunner's video. It's only a minute, you guys.
I think, to be perfectly honest, this means a lot. It says a lot. It is a lot. Now, I'll leave it up to you whether we believe this is him or not.
It's not.
He goes on, the same person. This is him. He says, releasing a rap song for everybody with VS, general discussion.
Okay.
Let's go.
So this is a two-part debunking before it starts. So first you're going to hear the rap song. Then you're going to hear me being like all mushy and like saying he's just a 15-year-old and how creative he was. And he was doing it for his visual snow group. And let's just play it.
Go ahead and listen to him. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right, procrastinating my deranged to change would be a fight. So I'm passing this like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed and I keep running. Why is this?
It's a horrible rapper, but go ahead.
When I hit it, always is stunning, always gentle. Giant, no defiance, all built in a lines and still think that I am present. I stuck in the future, but I'm never looking at the fucking present. Keep it up, act like you're all that. Here's a cookie too in a present. Led from a desert, eagles going louder than my motherfucking beagle. And you're like, you get no sequel. We be loved once climb like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are equal, but I'm people. And now I'm going.
Don't quit your day job, Bryan. Stick to killing. Well, you weren't very good at that.
I gave a trigger warning.
Well, you wasn't good at getting away with it part. This is rough to hear. This is rough to hear.
Regal, don't fuck with us. You learn a lesson. Thanks on music.
Nope, they're wrong.
Are you done?
Yeah, and I'm probably part of the reason why you think this is real, because I am one of these fake story pushers unintentionally. I thought this was real too. I thought the visual snow was real, but they're linked to his true Instagram account, which was proven not to be his. it's been complete. I don't know, you guys. If you've got some info, if you can back up the BK rap, if I'm wrong, I'm all for learning. I'm all for giving like the most updated information. But the information that I have now is this is fake. It was created as another one of these elaborate hoaxes. But somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
To get a bunny fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed and I keep running. Why is this?
He's a horrible rapper, but go ahead.
When I hit it, always has been stunning. Always gentle giant, no defiance, all built in alliance, and still think that I am present. I stuck in the future, but I'm never looking at the fucking present. Keep it up, act like you're all that. You give a cookie to in a present. Led from a desert eagle, Deagle's going louder than my motherfucking beagle, and your life you get no sequel. We be loved once climb like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are equal, but I'm people. And now I'm going.
Girl says it was
day job, Bryan.
XR.
Stick to killing. Well, you wasn't very good at that. Well, you was good at that, but you wasn't good at getting.
Well, Mish Girl, she's always coming with, you know, some solid knowledge. So Mish Girl says the XR account wasn't fake. You know, if this is real, like it would prove the visual snow is real as well. And like it would mean that I could like didn't just waste like an entire week of my life reading through hundreds and hundreds of visual snow posts and looking up medications like Topamax. And, you know, I would love to hear if it's real. It would make me feel better. And I will debunk the debunking.
Away with it part. This is rough to hear. This is rough to hear.
Regal, don't fuck with us. If you learn a lesson.
James Black wants to know too. All right, so okay, we're doubling down. Viviana is siding with Mish Girl. She's saying XR is real. Woo. Okay, I want to hear the fact check. I want a think tank. A think tank, you guys. Where did we first hear XR? Did we hear it somewhere before Garrett Discovery? The crickets started chirping in the background when I said that in real life. No, I don't think so, because we didn't know we didn't know anything about BK until his name was announced. I don't know. I think that's when we found out. But I'm not pushing back. I'm just saying I don't know, and I honestly don't know how to go deeper because I didn't personally do the two deep dives I'm referencing on the Garrett Discovery. Bring me knowledge, everyone.
Are you done? Was that it, Bryan?
Waiting on the Timberland remix.
I don't know if that was it or not. Yeah, that seemed to be it. So you only dropped one verse. Man, you can't finish nothing right, can you, Bryan?
I'm gonna stop. The one thing I will say about okay, so this is, you know, meant for me to laugh at myself, but literally the next couple minutes I'm talking about how wonderful and creative he is to write such a rap song. I just thought it was a good way to give an example of the visual snow.
So I listened to JB Gunner's whole video on this because I just thought, heck, why don't I just find out what other people are saying about the visual snow? And I'm just going by what JB Gunner says. JB Gunner says that he is an actual diagnosed psychopath.
I don't know if that's exactly.
Sociopath. And he says that he relates to these texts, and not all of them. Some of them, you'll know in a second when we get into them, they're pretty dark. But he's like, this sounds a lot like something I would have said 10 or 20 years ago or something like that. So I thought that was interesting. If you want to go back and listen to JB Gunner's Have to Talk video on that and hear what he has to say, it is fascinating. We don't have time to play it right now, but I encourage you to go check it out on your own. Thank you for finding that copy on SoundCloud. And let's continue. So Bryan had said about that, I want to express our struggles through rap. I think people should know. So I want to make a couple of observations about the rap. Number one, he is a teenager being creative, and I thought that was pretty cool. Number two, we all judge this rap song as like his attempt to be a rapper, or maybe him like trying to showcase his rap skills, when in actuality he was using the music he liked to support this group of people that supported him. And it makes that rap song seem so more in place, and it makes it seem a lot more less bold, I guess. And also those lyrics that he says about the anger and the demons and stuff, he's making metaphors for his visual snow. And I just think if I had not read this Tap to Talk, I wouldn't have necessarily had the context of that song. And so I do think it that's a really valuable takeaway I got from this forum.
It's a really
I read the lyrics. I remember hearing it once, but I guess I never really dove into it. All right. So let's just see. Now we're getting to all the replies. And this is where we get into some of these complex messages that were erased. So if the person who faked this account is watching, I like literally studied every word you said in here, looked it up, bounced it off. I actually, the sprinklers just came on. I was like, what is that noise? What's funny about this is that I actually, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I did like a timeline on this, and I took some of the things that they said and I matched them up to another fake witness, and I like came up with this whole like background and corroborated it. It was really intense. So I mean, if you fall for any of these things, don't feel bad. Like, obviously look at me. Oh, Too Fast, thank you so much for gifting memberships. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate your help with this debunking show tonight, and Heather too. And I have one last debunking to bring up, and then I'm going to call it a night. Yeah, make it rain. Thank you, Too Fast. Wait, before that, and Viviana is a new member. Viviana says, the Tap to Talks and Visual Snow were first found in January of 2023. I guess one thing we could do is see what other things XR is connected to, because definitively, if we find something that XR is connected to, and it's also connected to the IDAHO4 victims, we know it's fake, because there is no connection. So that's a good place to start. But I mean, I'm sure you guys have given us given me at least so much food for thought. I'm going to go back afterwards, at least on the things that we don't 100%, we have questions on. We'll talk about again in the next show, which might be tomorrow or Monday. Wait, ask him a friend. Twizzle does. I don't know what's going on. I hope Twizzles is doing good. Hello, Philly. Thank you, Too Fast. Trisha's always dropping a little knowledge on us. On their deathbeds, all these folks are going to be able to say they did was be fake people and make fake people accounts. That's a crying shame. It puts it in perspective, doesn't it? It looks like him in the pic.
I don't know. I mean, the one thing I will say is I did see an interview with somebody who I haven't like corroborated as real yet. And that person provided pretty rare photographs. And that kind of, I mean, we see so few photos of BK. You know, something new would stick out. I don't know if it would in January 2023. Okay, Heather says, I'm going to go on one of my old social media accounts and change my name and photo. I mean, okay, so I could take it to another level, and Bubbly Waters has a video. I just don't want to play it on this channel, not because it's Bubbly's video, but because it's so graphic. It's like not just violent content, it's like sexual content, but it talks about how these people fake their social media accounts, and they basically set it up so that you get yourself to a certain level of subscriber, and you read the headlines, and you kind of set yourself up like a tiger crouching. And that's what this account did. They got a bunch of followers by putting out a viral video of these people faceless, and I want to say it was like War Bear, and got like 15,000 followers. And in the midst of it, they started following the victims of the IDAHO4. And then within minutes of them announcing Bryan's name, the account went private and it reappeared with Bryan Kohberger's name. And that just started a firestorm of, you know, other accounts pushing this, saying they had the murderer, all these other things. So Heather's just explaining the process. And it happened with the GA show. I mean, we could be sitting here debunking the connection to the Georgia, and God rest their souls. You know, I hate talking about it in such a, you know, lightly in passing. But there was a fake story out there that the Georgia shooter was connected to BK. And they did it the same way. They had one of these accounts set up. And when the shooter was named, it was their opportunity to get clout grabbing or clout chasing. And they put up all these memes saying that there was a connection between BK and the shooter. He was envying him. And then it got picked up by true crimers here on YouTube, and they started playing the fake story. And so, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know how do you combat this. Part of it is going to official sources. Part of it is stop reporting on the sensationalism and start reporting on the facts. Because anyone who goes to court, they're not going to look at all this crap going on around them. They're going to look at what's on paper. And if I just feel like as true crime, that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is at least study what's on paper. It doesn't mean that I don't tell what my viewers want to hear, but I have some sort of moral obligation if I think something might be fake to figure out something else to talk about. I don't know. When I get tired, I just start like detaching and saying everything. Sorry, guys. Oh, wait, I think she's wrapping up her live and I'm leaving. Then I have to watch the hour I missed later. Angel D, wait, is it lunchtime right now? It's not lunchtime for you. Thank you, too, Pat. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate it if you're part of the replay crew. All right, one last thing to debunk, and then I'm going to call it a night. XR says Tuesday in September. I mean, the other thing I would look at is, does he have anything past being a minor? Because if there's something over the age of 18, anything on XR's account should have been taken down by now, because it's going to be used in some way in the case, I would imagine. Or does this XR account have some sort of false connection to the victims? Because we know if it does, we can easily debunk it as not being true. We've heard so many people under oath saying there is zero connection to victims. We've heard the parents of one of the victims come out and say to a world famous author, look, if what you're saying in this book is true, if there's truly a connection between, you know, this particular victim being the target, please report that to the police, because we have, as of yet, to find a connection. So, you know, there's another source. Heather wouldn't let you on panel. Wait, hold on. Stabbing video, your left, right hand stabs. Loach hurts his hand during attacks. Allegedly. Interesting. I'm so tired of. All right, so the last thing I wanted to debunk, and then I'm going to call it a night. And I didn't even know this was a debunked story, so I think that maybe some of you might not know about this story either. So it'll be a good one. And I won't have time to link all these below, but I will take some time to link everything we talk about below, so that if people do have questions about this, you can bring them back to where I got my debunking sources. So the next thing I want to talk about, just the last thing I wanted to debunk, was a story that came out quite early on, that Bethany and Dylan went and got matching tattoos after the crime. And there are pictures on social media. They're like angel wings with all the initials of the victims, and they're actually really pretty little tattoos. But it wasn't Bethany and Dylan that went and got the tattoos. It was Bethany and another girl. And so it's just a great, it's just to summarize an example of all the ways that they manipulate us in the media. And it's meant to pull on our heartstrings. And it certainly is wrong to do morally, because you know you're corrupting what is sure to be a jury pool for the person that's being charged. But what's terrible about it is it also affects witnesses. So people who might come into the case to say something about the case, and then they hear these fake stories, it's human nature to possibly adjust your story to fit. It could intimidate them. It could cause them to adjust the story. It could cause them to rethink it. Your memories are precious when you're coming in to give that testimony, and it shouldn't be influenced by people putting out fake rumors that make you think that you're wrong or think that your facts are wrong. So I think that's about all I have to say. Right. It wasn't Bethany. It was actually Bethany's little in the sorority, and that got it with Dylan, and thank you for correcting me, by the way, so that I didn't have the wrong. Thank you for debunking my debunking. I appreciate it, Viviana. But yeah, and so we have other people corroborating this. I'm turning off my camera. It's like glitching out. Look at I just want to see if there's any more comments about this. Oh, I did have one thing I wanted to say about the photography group. Wait, hold on. Mish Girl says, Kiki, I have a video of BK's barber talking about BK. I can send it to you. She said his last hair appointment was December 2nd, 2022. My gosh, I've never seen that, Mish Girl. Yes, I really would like to see that. Yeah, sorry for getting the story wrong. Wait, 12 million angry humans replace 12 angry men. I'm just going to read a couple of these out loud rather than just displaying them. April Cutie says, the media takes money from the highest bidder. Sirius Black says, it was awesome to hang out with you. Wonderful people tonight. Angel Demon was really nice talking to you tonight. I missed that. Yeah, welcome back, Angel D. Mish Girl, I'm trying not to, I'm trying to keep my circle very small, because I clearly fall for every trick in the book when it comes to IDAHO4. So I kind of, if you could send it in Discord, or if you could give it to one of my managing mods, that would be great. Heather Fitzgerald, Too Fast, Twizzle, or Christy Nevada. And I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass. I'm just easily tricked by IDAHO4 people. So anyway, that's going to be it for me tonight. Thank you for showing up. It's been a great live stream. We're doing another debunking because I only got through half of the stories that we had today. And it was nice to see some new faces in the chat. So thank you for showing up tonight. And thank you for everyone who helped me create this live stream. So justice for the IDAHO4. Have a great night.